I want to talk about the Woman King and shit, okay? I want to talk about it because I want to admit that I don't think I can watch the movie even with a pirate hat on, if you get my drift. I'm just tired of that imagery of, black women as surrogate men, you know? And it's weird because the other day I had made this video about, I think her name is Hope Giselle, uh, the trans woman activist for the alphabet community and shit. I had dragged her because primarily I was irritated at the habit that a lot of people in the trans community have of doxing their sexual partners and shit. People that hang out with them or date them and shit. I thought it was a breach of confidence, and one of the reasons they would never get the acceptance that they wanted and shit is because their whole identity and shit wasn't built around the fact that they were, quote unquote women and shit, but the fact that they wanted the world's outside acceptance at the exclusion of all else. And I think it's a oxymoron to, be a trans woman and shit and continually want, outside validation and shit when you went through all this sexual reassignment surgery and everything to become what you felt you were at birth and shit. You had the hubris to, not being a religious numbnut, but you had the hubris to say that the Most High, the great spirit that created all of us, the entity or whatever you want to call it, made a mistake and shit, okay? I'm not going to argue semantics with somebody that, I'll never be in their spirit shit. So, by that same token, whenever I see these supposed identity politic, when I see these identity politic fueled projects and shit, this propaganda, I have a similar reaction and shit. It just makes me feel like a lot of like black women in our community who have this mindset and shit, this feminist mindset, this really toxic version of feminism and shit. I feel like it's just like penis envy. They really want to be a man. They want to, know what it's like to be a man. In anime terms and I guess pornography or whatever, you call that shit a fuda or some shit, And as I'm introducing a new term, it's like basically a female, it's like an androgynous female and shit, who has both organs and shit, okay? No, it's kind of gross. But I get tired of them talking about what we do with our penises and our sexual habits and shit. And our money comes in third and shit, really, if you think about it. No, really kind of first, actually, excuse me. It's in our community, we're just boiled down to, the bare necessities and shit, for black men, the bare necessities of what they'll tolerate and shit is a silent, CompuServe, for lack of a better term, with a phallus and a stuffed wallet and shit. And that's all it is, That's all it really is. Everything else just falls under that in brackets. And then I watch shit like The Woman King and I just laugh my fucking ass off. Because I'm not just, looking at it as a shitty project. I'm not just looking at it as like a really problematic intellectual property. I'm looking at the forest for the trees and shit. And a lot of women don't understand that, it's dangerous to hyper masculinize the female contingent of a population while also, feminizing the men and shit. A lot of these misandrists and shit, a lot of you women are taking your marching orders from, people with the mindset of a Bell Hooks or Alice Walker, all these people, who's, I don't want to name any other people, Kimberly Crenshaw. No, you're taking your walking orders from people that, are not part of our community and shit. They consider our community secondary if they actually genetically belong to it and shit, pigmentation notwithstanding. You're taking your marching orders from outsiders and shit and destroying your own families and shit, your own structure, okay? Our history, everything has just gone into the wood chipper and shit because of your fucking mindset. I'm not saying that you guys get the sole blame for it, but you need to take responsibility for your part. And, as a misogynistic anarchist and shit, it behooves me to say that I don't believe that you ever will. I don't believe that this iteration, what came before, has the capacity to accept that fact and shit, to look at the forest for the trees and see what the end game is and shit. Besides us becoming even less of a threat and shit, and being socially engineered to be demure and shy away from conflict and shit because it's seen as toxic masculinity. You guys are being hyper masculinized and shit, and overtly trained to become a service class of people. Okay, I mean, black men, we've already been socialized over hundreds of years to be service oriented and shit, and just have a worksman like you know demeanor and shit. Besides what goes on in the house. Then I think it's a part of what makes us excellent and shit. The innovations, all of the inventions that were stolen, all of our thoughts, and you have a guy in the world that has made a machine that can make water out of fucking air particles and shit. That's a man, by the way, a man. And then when you get to the black women side of things, you guys don't even celebrate the greatest amongst you. Okay, you don't celebrate. They're making a Woman King movie when they should have been making a FloJo movie and shit. Like a big budget, biography of her. Love to see that. But probably never will. We'll just get shit like the Woman King, cause it's easy, it's cheap. It's a fucking cash grab and shit. You guys are stupid enough to throw money at it and shit. A lot of our brothers too, who might as well just tuck their penises between their legs or just remove them outright and shit to be accepted by women that hate you. Okay, literally hate you. Most of the women, in leading your movement are lesbians. Okay, and lesbians don't want to be with men. They don't want to have anything to do with men. So you're taking your marching order from a bunch of lesbians and modeling your lifestyle on them. And if not them, right up under them, you're modeling your lifestyle on prostitute ideology and shit, okay? That's why, like, our community is fucked up, because it's transactional across the board and shit with you guys. That's all you talk about is fucking what someone's gonna give you and what somebody's gonna do for you, and how you aren't gonna submit. You aren't gonna do anything. You're not gonna be a part of a group. You wanna have somebody in the house to be your fucking servant, but you don't want to do shit. And this motherfucker has to bend the knee and shit. He has to play the background. He has to be quiet. Dare I say, he must take care of the children, because you've lost the ability to properly parent and shit. From what we're seeing and shit, with people like fucking Lori Harvey and some of these other broads you see on TikTok and a lot of these influencers. Like, who the fuck is Brittany Renner's mom? Right? Come on, let's be honest here. It's just, I'm talking about the Woman King, a movie I'm not gonna watch and shit. If I do, I will drag in and shit for my audience. But like, at this time, I just can't bring myself to do that and shit. If there's really a divine feminine and shit out there, all around you, women, all around all of us, a divine mother, you think she would approve of this shit? I like to say no. Alright? I definitely believe in a divine masculine that created all of us and shit. Now maybe that's just because I'm genetically a male. I'm a cisgendered male. But like, what can you say and shit when all of your leaders are fucking lesbians who obviously don't want anything to do with men? And a lot of your guys are being led by white lesbians and shit, initially. And above that, Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent and shit in our community to destroy it, and she did her mission. She did her fucking mission and shit, okay? They're probably gonna make her one of those presidential libraries to her when she croaks, when she thankfully dies, It's pretty fucked up. You guys taking your marching orders from white women that you profess to hate while, disguising, wearing a Halloween costume of white women every day on your fucking head and shit. And you're listening to, women that have problems, damaged, broken women and shit that have become, full pseudo misandrous intellectuals. It's a lot of words out there. Take your marching orders and shit. And ultimately, what is it going to do for you in the world at large? Once you get a couple of generations of this type of entertainment, this rhetoric, this propaganda and shit, it's going to make other people see you the way they see us. The men of your community and shit. Your broken community that you guys set on fire and shit, and didn't have the wherewithal to get out of and shit. And even if you got out of it, there's no one waiting there to help you out and shit. The government's only gonna go so far and shit. So what is the What is the impact of shit like, propaganda like the Woman King and, the upcoming Wakanda Forever shit, which looks female centric and made me barf all over myself. Really threw up in my mouth a couple of times I watched that first trailer. I didn't have the reaction most people had because I'm not a fucking sheep. I have a somewhat of a Sigma mindset, to be quite honest. If you had picked up on it. Yeah, what's the end game? Can anyone, in the class raise their hand if they know what's going to happen with this kind of propaganda? Especially if you look at all the propaganda they're aimed at black men day in and day out, 24/7 and shit. They were reported on in the negative, non-stop and shit. Presented as a cartoonish, garish, offensive stereotypes, just continuously. All right. And what has that done to the perception of the black man and shit? It's made us, it's made us into characters and shit. And you guys are characters already, but they're taking it one step further and shit. All right. And you better think about like people like Sandra Bland and Breonna Taylor and a legion of other women who've been, who've lost their lives and shit in situations they shouldn't have been in, being killed outright, having their civil rights violated and shit. Especially Breonna Taylor, she was shot in her bed, nude, and she hasn't gotten any justice yet. She hasn't gotten any justice yet, man. So, I feel like she's gonna end up like Emmett Till and shit, never getting justice and shit. And you shouldn't expect justice from the outside community either and shit. But you guys, like, you want to be a part of it so bad and shit that you don't care. You co-sign your own destruction and shit, okay? You look at, what they do, their egregious behavior, this propaganda and shit. You clap your hands and you celebrate it and shit, And you don't base any of that shit on actual, logic and shit, okay? Everything's on your fucking emotions. You guys react in extremes and shit. And it takes away from us as a people and shit, to be quite honest. You guys don't want to, be submissive and shit. You don't want to listen to reason. You don't have any capability of pair bonding on any fucking level and shit that doesn't serve you directly before anybody else's selfishness and shit. It's fucked up. I didn't want to go on a rant and shit, but I might as well, as I look at this picture of Viola Davis' middle-aged ass trying to be, trying to do her best Shaka Zulu, for lack of a better term. If I was Disney, I would sue the studio that made The Woman King for copyright, for trademark violation and shit. It's still in the imagery. I would try to sue their ass, But, that would be problematic for us men at large because it would bring more eyes to that project and ultimately make it profitable on some level. If, black women don't just propel this thing, I'm not paying for it. Any self-respecting man after looking at that goddamn trailer shouldn't be paying for it and shit. So you have like a bunch of women sitting there looking at this bullshit, a bunch of our women sitting there looking at this shit, big up in it, with their simps, their cucks, the ridiculous wonders that, cower in fear at their slightest, hint of displeasure and shit, the fallen man, the self-defeated Negro. Yeah, I'm directing this at motherfuckers like, I don't want to, now I might as well say, direct this shit at, assholes like, Chris Miller, and fucking Sean James, who keeps taking shots at, guys who want to get out of this situation. Just want to get out, They want our freedom and shit, a freedom that you women have, that we don't have, that you're selling right now. You're giving away for pennies on the dollars with projects like this and shit, okay? Yeah, projects like The Woman King and shit, okay? And there's a bunch of other shit coming out too. It just makes me sick to my guts. Alright, it just makes me sick to my guts and shit. Nobody seems to get offended at these shitty, these shitty generalizations of what the outside community, i.e. white people with money, people who push the levers and buttons and shit. And I'm sorry, I know some race soldiers are going to come in this comment section, but I'll block you, no problem. You want their approval so bad that, even after you burnt down your own community and destroyed it and shit, contributed wholesale to its destruction for pennies on the dollars, you still want their acceptance when you're willing to dance on top of the demolished lot that's left of, what the black community formerly was and shit, even in its greatest heyday. A family, a village, people that, were reliant on each other and shit instead of the outside for tangibles and goodies and giveaways and shit. It's a goddamn shame. It's a goddamn shame and shit. To see what we've become as a people and shit, That's why sometimes I say that, after listening to Cynthia G on Fox Soul, I I honestly sometimes wish I could go back in time and, save like Martin Luther King from being killed, you know, Malcolm X from being assassinated and shit. Both of them were assassinated and betrayed and shit, by their groups, their respective groups, who let things get this fucking bad in our community and shit. I wish I could go back to save Fred Hampton, especially him of the three, because he was only 21 when he died, and they knew he was going to be great, and they fucking took him out, And I don't know, maybe they told his wife something, but she was ride or die. She was actually in the bed with him when they were shooting his body, and she was pregnant, man. I don't know, she was between 6 and 9 months pregnant, and she was handcuffed and taken to a precinct and eventually released because of the white man's arrogance. They didn't see her as a threat whatsoever. Why aren't they making any movies about her? Like, they made that Judas and the Messiah bullshit, which I refuse to watch because Daniel Kaluuya's black, charcoal, black, greasy, tether ass don't look shit like the actual guy. He don't look shit like Fred Hampton. The only motherfucker I know that partially resembles Fred Hampton was that nigga that played Boba Shrimp in The Forrest Gump. He was too old for the project. It's just tired, I'm tired of being a broken people. And mostly, I accept responsibility on my level as a Generation X and shit. The boomers left us hanging and shit, and the Generation X's, we put our noses to the millstone, we worked hard and everything, and we tried our best to get the American dream, but we got caught up in the system too. But at least we tried to take care of our, our families, the people that have families, so we take care of them. It's just that strong, independent, don't need no man contingent of you that have wreaked havoc on our ethnic community and shit, our culture and stuff. And that's why you can have two white women and shit, two fucking white women, write a movie about their version of African history, about, historical women that were actually slavers, that were selling their own people into slavery to people from off their continent and shit. They had no kinship. That should be seen as an aberration and shit. This movie should have been shelved. What does it take you to sell your brother, your sister into slavery? What does it take to do something like that? What kind of mindset do you have? When I look at the African continent today and all the tribes and the majority minority that controls all of the wealth and shit, all of that wealth, everything, China's in there now. When I look at that shit, I just shake my motherfucking head because, every time I hear a panel of tethers talking shit about black people, how we have no culture, how we're mongrels, we're bastards, all this bullshit, I just laugh and, shake my head. I'm like, look at where you come from. Look where you come from. You don't control your own wealth. Enough wealth to change the status quo of the planet. And it's controlled by the colonizers and shit. I mean, you guys want to, a lot of those guys over there, they're tap dancing on Queen Elizabeth's grave and shit. But that's all they can do is just be trolls online and shit. They don't have the balls to take their country back. There's no way you can get those colonizers out there. There's no way you can get China from turning African to China too and shit. It's the way of the world. The guys are weak. They were kept apart. You could blame it on white supremacy, but I really wouldn't and shit. when you all can basically talk to each other in a different language. You know, one of the things I remember back like last year with Tariq Nasheed was sparring off with these Ethiopian people that, you know, were dragging us regular black people here in the colonies. One of the things they were talking about was like he didn't have any culture and he had a made up language and all this bullshit. And I'm like, hey, if you guys can actually communicate with each other on some level and shit, how come your country is fucked up? And how come it's not a superpower? It's not a black superpower. They were quick to sign that treaty that they wouldn't, you know, acquire nuclear weapons and shit, you know? You know, if they didn't sign that treaty and shit, they would be considered an enemy of the rest of the world, which is shitty. Africa is full of black people and shit. Black colored people, but they ain't us, okay? They're not foundational black Americans. And what we do, how we proceed in the future, will imprint upon the rest of the colored world, okay? The rest of the black people on the planet, okay? They will key to whatever we do to resolve our issues here over time. If we go extinct, then, you know, there you have it, all right? But, you know, until that day arrives, much long after I'm dead, a lot of my contemporaries, a lot of you and shit, you know, long after we're dead, who knows, you know, until then we'll just have to make do with shit, you know, making videos and protesting and shit and doing little bullshit here and there, you know. And, you know, our women, they'll be co-signing all of this negative propaganda instead of looking inside and, you know, finding the truth and things and shit, you know, making a course correct. I can't stress that enough. You know, I just want to tell all you bitches out there, you know, all you strong, independent, don't need no fucking man. I want to tell you guys this shit. Enjoy your fucking movie, okay? You know, have a big popcorn. You know, maybe they could give you an EBT card so you can get some snacks and you can watch, you know, the white community shit on your ass and shit in a fucking fake movie and shit that ain't based on shit. But like, you're gonna be lying in the pockets of two white women and shit who just use you guys, okay? Who use you guys to make a quick buck, a cash grab and shit. And, you know, fuck Maria Bello and shit. She said that Africa is her favorite country to go to and all that shit. I'm like, hey, that's just a vacation destination. There's people living over there and shit that's in dire straits. You're exploiting those people and shit. But because you're making you know, you're doing a little shitty, you know, feminist project and shit, you know, no one has the balls to fuck with the, you know, white female and shit, okay? So, least of all, any black women. You know, even those of you who are aware, you know, all you can really do is just throw rocks and shit. And they counting their cash and shit, laughing their fucking ass off. Hey, thanks, you know, thanks black woman and shit, thank you. Okay, backbone of the fucking community and shit. The mother goddess, the queen, you know. And a lot of you guys had the audacity to call yourself a divine feminine and shit. You know, knowing this, knowing all what I said and shit. Tell me, did I tell any fucking lies? Did I speak anything that wasn't true? Did I pull a Cynthia G and just make up my own reality on a fucking international platform like Fox? Huh? I don't care about a trans woman sitting on that panel and shit next to her sister and shit. Because, you know, when we all look at it, that's truly what a lot of you black women want to be. You want to be trans women. You know, they want to be you, but you want to be a trans woman so fucking bad.
I'm in a rage.
Oh yeah? Yo, why is that, G?
Other races, they say we act like rats in a cage. I tried to argue, but check it. Every night in the news, we prove them suckers right, and I got the blues.
America.
Get busy, Humpty.
The red, the white, the blue, and the blue and the red for Crips and Bloods. The white for who's got you doing time. Busting caps on one another.
The underground's down for peace among brothers.
Kill a black man.
What?
Yo, what are you, retarded?
Tell them, Hump.
Yo, do you work for the Klan?
Do what you like.
Unless you like gang banging. Let's see how many brothers leave us hanging.